everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And it is technically the first day of free agency, although I think the first official day of free agency is Wednesday. It is the legal tampering period has begun, and the Panthers have made some moves. And some former Panthers are making some moves. So we'll talk about all of that. We'll talk about who's left and what the Panthers still need to address. It's been a good day for the Panthers, I think.
I would say so. It feels like they're doing some nice moves that aren't splashy, but are nice to improve this team overall.
They're checking some boxes.
Yes.
They've already crossed off a couple of, actually, three of the things that we hoped that they would do in terms of positions addressing. And another one as well. So we'll talk about all those here in a few minutes. I do want to go ahead and give some shout outs to some 5-star reviews we received on Apple Podcasts. If you want to hear your 5-star review, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave us one. We'll read it on the show. So the first one here is from Charlie. It says, "Hey guys, you are one of the only two Panthers podcasts I listen to regularly for Panthers updates. Seems like I agree with at least one of you while giving your opinion. Keep up the good work." That's good to know.
I always agree with one of us. I'm just saying.
I always disagree with one of us. Just kidding. This next one is from Alex, who was very angry that we did not read this on our last episode. Just kidding, Alex. Just kidding. He says, "I stumbled across these guys on YouTube and finally found a podcast taking a good look at the team I've loved and cheered on for years. Honest opinion, thoughtful, and well presented. Keep pounding." Thank you.
Thank you.
We definitely appreciate that.
Keep pounding to yourself, sir.
That's right. Last one here, my go-to Panthers podcast from Nate. "This is easily the best Panthers podcast out there. Steve and Jerry are diehard fans." Thanks for calling me Steve, by the way. That's a choice.
I think I'm going to start calling you Steve. Actually, that's a good idea.
Some people call me Steve. I do go by Steve, but some people do that. Call me Steve. Steve and Jerry are diehard fans who decided to start a podcast one day. That's exactly how it happened.
It was on a break, to be honest with.
"I like to support people who take risks. After every game, I always look forward to hear what they have to say. Just Panthers fans talking to other Panthers fans. Basically, that's it." Smiley face. That's it. I mean, listen, what you guys get from us on this podcast is exactly what we do when we're not on the podcast. I mean, we don't dress it up for you guys. I did put some product in my hair, but that's about it. This is us.
I do feel like we do a little bit more research now than we did. We do, especially like on draft profiles. I feel like I know draft prospects and stuff a lot better. And
well, yeah, we do try to not sound completely stupid, but I mean, basically, but seriously, I mean, I was doing almost as much, wasting almost as much time on reading Panthers things, watching YouTube videos, doing, obsessing about the Panthers before we started this podcast than I do now. I think you're probably the same.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Again, we started this on, I think it was one of my lunch breaks. I think I spent my whole lunch break outside my office talking to you at your office. So
yeah, and we would do that pretty much every day.
Yeah.
Just talk about the Panthers, the Hornets, whatever was going on, but it was almost always Panthers. And yeah, we just were like, you know what, we should record this and see if anybody wants to hear us. And it's been 4 years now.
Yeah, it was preseason, and then we watched it.
Yeah,
ran home, bought a couple mics
that we still use today, and we've upgraded our cameras once or twice, and yeah, but it's been fun, and we're gonna keep doing it.
I hardwired Ethernet to my office because of the glitchingness. Yeah. If you're watching on YouTube, hopefully the glitching has stopped. I'm just saying. All right.
We had some technical issues for a while there, but yeah, I think things are looking a lot better. So thanks all three of you guys for the reviews, and the other 40-something of you that have left reviews for us. Keep them coming. Like, it really helps us out in terms of the algorithms and everything. Subscribe on YouTube as well. That helps us out. We don't do this for, money or anything like that, but it is nice to get us out there and get more people listening to the podcast, interacting.
Yeah, and if you don't want to fill something out as you don't want to hear your name, you don't like writing reviews, I'm one of those people. Just give us a 5-star review if you don't mind. And honestly, we appreciate everyone who listens to us ramble on about the Panthers because we love to do it.
We do. Jerry hasn't even reviewed this podcast. He
No,
hates he hates reviewing so much. He hasn't even reviewed it.
well, I don't have an Apple account, so I can't review it.
He refuses to even make an
I've
Apple
done it on
account.
Spotify though, so
Yeah, check us out on Spotify as well. Wherever you get your podcasts, we are there. All right, so let's get into some free agency here. There are some big deals that we'll talk about. Yeah, big-ish deals we'll talk about. But let's start off with a couple of homegrown guys here. Shaq Thompson reworked his deal. We don't have the numbers yet,
no,
but it sounds like it's a 2-year extension, or not extension. I think they're just maybe voiding his old contract and just giving him 2 years on a new deal. It sounds like.
yeah, it sounds because everything I read it kept saying reworked instead of like
Yeah,
extended or anything
right.
else. So
He was on the last year of his deal,
mm-hmm.
and now he has 2 years left. We don't know what the money is, but it sounds like, I mean, there had to have been, I would think, pretty substantial cap savings because they could have cut him and saved what $13 million or something on the cap this year. So I'm guessing we're saving at least that or close to it.
I would assume my thought is probably 6 to 7 because then you're thinking you're spending $6 million on Shaq Thompson instead of just cutting him. So that's probably you're not going to get a linebacker.
Well, I was talking about cap savings, like
yeah,
specifically cap savings. Yeah. So I'll be curious to see. Yeah, that sounds about right. I'd be curious to see what those numbers end up like. But he wanted to stay.
Yeah.
He wanted to be here. So I'm hoping that he gets what he wants and we get what we need out of him, which is, a really good season because linebacker depth is something that we've talked about, needing to upgrade in this offseason.
I'll be very excited to see him as a 3-4 inside linebacker because I think he could really excel at that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch a lot of these guys. Sam Franklin, the other homegrown guy, was made a restricted free agent tender for $2.7 million. If that can be, another team can sign him, the Panthers would have an option to match. I can't imagine he would get more than that per year, although someone may be willing to go 2 or 3 years on him. He's a very good special teams player.
Yeah.
And good depth at that position as well. So glad to have him back. He was the guy that you and I had mentioned wanting to stick around.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the type of deal I would expect Sam Franklin to get. I just special teams guy, solid depth. That's what you get from him. And that's his role. Good for him.
Yep. And then the last homegrown guy, or not homegrown, but former Panther, I guess we should say, Sam Darnold, gone. Heading to San Francisco for a 1-year deal. Yeah. I think I was fully expecting him to be here.
I did too, but supposedly there was a bigger market for Sam Darnold than people originally expected. That there was actually a report out of the I can't think of the Indianapolis scouting combine that a lot of teams were interested in him. Maybe not for a starting role, but for more like backup roles. And I'll be interested what his deal actually is when it gets released.
Yeah, I imagine it's more than $5-6 million a year, but we'll see. He's gonna have a long career as a backup spot starter type guy. And Sam's a professional. Like I'm happy for him. If that's where he wants to go, he's going to be reunited with CMC. Steve Wilkes is there as well. I'm sure Steve Wilkes was asked about Sam and gave him a glowing recommendation. So good for Sam and good for us because honestly, I'd be happy if we were going to have another bridge. I'd be happy to see somebody else.
Yeah, that's fine. I agree. Sam Darnold, I think the whole Baker Mayfield and the way he handled it and then came in and showed that he could still play decently, I think I agree with you that he solidified his ability to become a backup for 4 or 5 more years at least. He's going to be in this league.
Oh, I think he's going to be in the league for like 10 more years, maybe 15 more years. I think he's a guy
that's just going
to, he's going to just bounce around. He's going to make, $50 million more over the course of his career. See a lot of different cities. Yeah, he's going to be one of those guys. In fact, he may be here again at some point. I mean,
Hey, I have
who
no
knows?
problem. I wish I was in that type of
Oh my God,
circumstances.
backup quarterback is the best job in the NFL. It is the best job in the NFL.
You're always a
Absolutely.
favorite in the city you're at, typically.
Absolutely. All right, let's get to some of these big deals. And Jerry, I did forget to talk about one Panther who was here last year who's coming back.
Oh, who is that, sir?
Bradley Bozeman.
Yeah! On a great
Bradley
deal.
Bozeman. An excellent deal. 3 years, $18 million. Spotrac has his market value at $12 million per season.
Yes, and what I was reading on Twitter is that the center, position and stuff like that were getting no love in free
Yeah.
agency, and no that there was going to be some deals to be made, and I think this is a big deal. I really do. 6 million for him for 3 years is awesome. I mean,
6 million per year. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a steal in my opinion.
mine too. I mean,
Yeah.
a $6 million starter, and we saw Pal Elfline here, and he didn't do nearly as good as Bozeman, and solidified that offensive line that the rookie quarterback's going to definitely need to help him out.
Yeah, all five starters are going to be back. They're all signed through 2024, at least. All five signed through 2024. Um, I wonder how much of this was Bozeman just taking a little less to stay here because they made it very clear, he and his wife, that they wanted to be here, that they liked Carolina, they wanted to be in Carolina. But like you said, it seems like the center market is just not there.
Yeah, I think what probably happened, because he didn't sign before free agency hit, he probably
Mm,
waited. His agent got some calls, and nothing was really, maybe 3 years, 19, 20, and he was just like, I'll just go back to where I'm familiar, that made a good game. We like the city. We don't have to move. We just have our child. I'll take 1 million or two less to go back to them.
maybe, yeah. But the line was better when he became center. I mean, the line
Absolutely.
as a whole was better when he was center versus Elfline. Elfline can be cut, I think, and save almost 5 million on the cap. I would expect that move to happen pretty soon. Like they're not going to do that when they don't have Bozeman signed, but now that they have Bozeman signed, go ahead and yeah, cut him loose, cut him loose. All right, who else we got, Jerry?
Now going on to some new names and new faces coming to Carolina. Former Cincinnati Bengals safety Von Bell signed a 3-year, $22.5 million with $13 million guaranteed. Great. It's not the safety that the Panther fans wanted, but that safety's got signed for way more money in Atlanta. So I like this deal. Pair him with Xavier Woods, and then you could let Jeremy Chin go down and back to his linebacker position and eat up.
I like it. I mean, it's a good deal in terms of the money. He's a good producer. He's very good in run defense. He had 4 interceptions last year, which at the safety position is very good.
Yeah.
It was a career high for him. I think he had 8 pass defenses as well. Um, I I liked it. I think it's a very good deal. I know Cincinnati fans are upset that he's leaving. They were hoping to keep either him or the other guy you were talking about.
I can't think of his name. I
Uh, Something, but yeah, they're who are the center that or the safety that signed for $60 million with Atlanta. Um, Tell us in the comments, but yeah, I'm happy with Von Bell. He's a name. Like
He
I
was a
recognize
captain.
it. Yeah, like he's captain all 3 years for Cincinnati. So don't know if he'll be a captain here, but it's possible, probably likely. He's a vet. He's apparently a very good locker room guy, and he's good on the field. So I'm excited about that
I am too, especially because you and
one.
I have been complaining about the fact that Jeremy Chin seems to be playing out of position last year in that safety.
Hmm.
As he's still a freakish athlete and stuff like that, he just made more of an impact down in the box. And I
Yeah.
think maybe moving him to this 3-4 linebacker, I don't know if they're going to play him inside or outside. I would assume inside, just because outside's more of an edge rusher on 3-4s. I think he could really make some huge impact plays like he did his first rookie season.
I hope so. I mean, we saw him in that, that similar type role in his rookie season. He was great. I mean, he
Mm-hmm.
was kind of being considered he was a candidate for rookie of the year.
Absolutely.
And the year two was kind of a disappointment,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, from a fan's perspective. No, a lot less splash plays. He still made some splash plays, but I'm hoping they get him back down into that position where he was most effective in his rookie season. And it seems like that's what their plan is
And,
with this
and
signing.
and that's what it should be. Ask
Yeah.
him to put on a little bit of weight, go ahead and be that player again. Just because he was lightning. He was one of the best run defenses of players his rookie season because
Mm-hmm.
he was down by the box and you would just see him light up running backs from the outside because he could beat them to the outside.
Yeah.
That's what he should have been doing last year, in my opinion. But
Agreed. Agreed. All right. And we got one more signing to talk about here as well.
yeah, uh, former New Orleans Saints defensive tackle Shy Tuttle signed a 3-year, $19.5 million contract. Uh, Supposedly, he's going to gain a little bit of weight and play our nose tackle.
Yeah. Right now he's listed at 300 pounds, but I was reading a report that one of our team reporters said they thought he was probably closer to 315 already.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, he puts on another, 15, 20 pounds. Like nose tackles typically pretty big, pretty
Yeah.
like Marquand McCall, I think is like 380 or something. Like he's freaking massive. Who's still on the team, by the way. I mean, a guy that could also play nose tackle. I would assume will be the backup nose tackle, or will compete with Tuttle for that starting position. But 3 years, $19 million.
Nah, he's got that
You're
job.
figuring, yeah, they're not gonna they're gonna definitely lean towards him. But I think he was pretty good in New Orleans again. Not like a splash signing, but a position of need and a quality player.
Yeah, and a local guy coming from
Yeah.
Lexington, North Carolina, and that's fine. That's what it is. He's gonna be a nose tackle. He's not. If he's a nose tackle, you're not gonna hear his name that much. He's gonna eat up the blockers so that the linebackers can free up. I mean, that's his
Hmm.
job, and he did good job. So I'm happy.
Yeah.
I like that play.
Yeah, we'll
Evero
see.
getting
I
his
mean,
players. That's what he's
right,
doing.
right. And again, this it's interesting to me that the this was all except for Bozeman, it's pretty much all defense
Mm-hmm.
this first day of free agency with our offensive head coach, which makes me think that the draft is going to be heavy on offense.
I did too. I think they're still gonna have to address a few things in free agency,
Yeah.
especially Sam Darnold leaving, going away. I could see them going another coordinate or another quarterback, another tight
Have to.
end, wide receiver. But from there, I don't see any needs. I mean, that
Yeah.
you can address in draft.
Corner would be, maybe the corner free agency list is pretty deep. I
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't mind them signing a corner if they can get one for a good price, and it doesn't have to be a starter, just depth. But yeah, wide receiver, like let's go ahead and transition here because we're going to talk about what the Panthers still need to address. Wide receiver, I think, should probably be at the top of the list at this point with DJ Moore being
Oh,
traded away.
absolutely.
By the way, check out our DJ Moore or our podcast on the trade if you haven't heard it already. And hello to all the new listeners because that one is doing pretty well on the podcast side and the video side as well. So um, there's not a lot of wide receiver options in free agency. You got Odell Beckham Jr.
See, I wouldn't want to
Um,
bring him in there just because
I'm just saying, like in terms of big
his
names,
name,
he's
his.
pretty much the only one.
I see. I
The
think
big,
you
the big one.
The big one, yes. I think you
Yeah,
could bring in a DJ Chark. I think a McCole
yeah.
Hardman. I think, some of these guys, Jacoby Myers, some of these younger guys that you actually could bring in, start for you that maybe not a number one, but could be a number
Hmm.
two slash number one. You're hoping Terrace Marshall really takes the jump, but either way, then you can also draft somebody, and you're not leaving your rookie quarterback out there with, you know, Jericho
Yeah.
Cotchery and no one else.
Hey, Jericho Gotchery got us to a Super Bowl.
That's
Um,
that's why I
yeah,
said him.
and I wasn't saying that there are no wide receivers out there or no quality wide receivers. Just the big names aren't out there. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Jacoby Myers is out there. You got Juju Smith Schuster. McCole Hardman is someone who I've seen rumored to the Panthers in terms of their interest. But DJ Shark I think would be awesome. I like him. I think he's kind of really underrated
Me too.
for what he has provided to first the Jags and then the Lions last year. Um, Paris Campbell was with the Colts. Would not surprise me at all if he comes here as a wide receiver 2-3 type player. But we need a one because right now we have a bunch of wide receiver 2-3s on the
You
roster.
and you typically aren't going to find a one out in free agency. If you do, everybody's going to be out there trying to sign him, and it's going to be big money. You're not going to find a true one. You're not going to find the DJ Moore out there. And as much as it pains me, he's gone. But, the Panthers did that so that they can have 10, 12 years of a franchise quarterback. So now
Right. And
we got a patchwork that's a receiving core until we can get one in draft or somewhere else.
well, yeah, most of the number one wide receivers that have changed teams recently have been trades, and there
Mm-hmm.
are some guys out there. Number one being DeAndre Hopkins, who is rumored to be available via trade. I think the Cardinals are saying they want a second for him, but if you look at some of the recent trades, I think you could probably get him for like a third. He's got a pretty nice contract, but he would immediately become the number one here.
Oh yeah, DeAndre
You
Hopkins is
know,
one of the best.
yeah,
I
yeah.
will. I
So that
wouldn't
would be
mind.
interesting.
Jerry Judy is on the block too. That's another
Jerry
guy that I
Judy,
would
yeah,
absolutely love to bring in. Depending on what they want for him. Obviously, he was a first round pick, so they probably want something.
and he's very young. Kind of underperformed where he was drafted, I think, so far in his career. So yeah, but I'd love to see him. Alan Lazard, another guy who's out there, in his late 20s, but he kind of played that number one role for most of the season in Green Bay last year. So he would be an option, I think. Um, but yeah, it's just not that deep in free agency in terms of wide receivers.
Would you be willing to give up the 39th overall pick, our second round pick for Jerry Judy?
Um, maybe.
Hmm.
Maybe.
I would have said
Probably.
I would have said yes in a heartbeat because he had some
Probably.
great. He would. I remember him coming out of college. He was a great route runner and stuff. And
Yeah.
granted, I feel like we touched on him a little bit whenever. I would have done that in a heartbeat if I
He
could do
had,
that.
yeah, he had a pretty good season last year, 67 catches, 972 yards, six touchdowns with, the corpse of Russell Wilson throwing to him. Um, but like I said, he's kind of underperformed. His first season, only 38 catches, 467 yards. So yet to have 1,000-yard season. Still young, he's what, 23. So yeah, I think I'd probably do that. I'd probably do that.
I would do that. Then you would have to draft a speedster with TMJ and Jerry Judy, and I think you would
Well,
have
you
two
got
solid.
Shy Smith on the team already, or
As much as I like Shy Smith, he
we got
did
two
not.
Shies on the team now, by the way.
I think what I saw last year showed that he may not have it for the NFL starter. He may be a special teams type of guy, but I
Yeah.
want somebody that can really blow the roof off. And I just didn't see that from him last year. He dropped
Well,
passes, and when he did
yeah.
get the ball in space, he didn't do anything with it.
My only concern about giving up the 39th pick, and the only reason I was kind of hesitant is we picked number one. If we don't have that 39th pick, we don't have our 61 pick anymore.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden we're picking pretty late on that second day.
But
So But you'd be getting Jerry Jeudy, and could you draft someone of Jerry Jeudy's quality with the 39th pick? Probably not. And it's a position of need now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that makes sense.
It
Yeah.
sucks for our pass rush, but I think the 3-4 with Frankie Louisville on the other side might help that. Just
Now the question is, would you do the same thing for DeAndre Hopkins?
for a second, no,
Yeah,
no.
because of the contract.
Because of the contract and his age.
Is he that old?
DeAndre Hopkins is probably, what, 30 something?
He is 30.
So, yeah, no.
30 years old exactly.
And he has that big
Um,
contract. No, I wouldn't do it.
yeah, I'm
I,
looking.
I, I like DeAndre Hopkins, don't get me wrong, but
His cap hit is $30 million this year.
okay, I don't think I could do a third round pick on him then.
I think, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I've seen people saying he could go for a third, maybe even a fourth because of that contract. But I mean, he's awesome. I mean, he would immediately, what a amazing weapon for a rookie wide
Oh,
receiver.
yeah.
But, you know,
I see.
so
At
we're
least.
looking,
Oh, sorry.
but,
I was
but
gonna say with Judy, at least you're getting a young receiver that can kind of grow with your quarterback as well.
right. Yeah, I think Judy is obviously the way to go. Well, you want to take a quick break and come back and talk about the rest of it?
Sure.
All right, we'll be right back.
Okay. Now, unfortunately, with well, I don't know if it's unfortunately or fortunately, but with Sam Darnold signing with San Fran, we do still need probably a veteran quarterback in here for our number one overall pick. I really don't foresee them signing it or, not drafting number one overall, but here we go. We got Carson Wentz that's still available. I really hope we don't bring him in, but I get that he knows the offense and he could be a bridge guy.
He'd
Jacoby,
probably be pretty cheap, honestly.
yeah, and he
Like
wouldn't.
if you could get him for like 2 years, 12 million, I think that's a pretty good deal for him.
I would say 2 years, 10 million. I don't even think I would give him six, but Jacoby Brissett, Andy Dalton, Kyle Allen, Taylor Heineke. I'm a little shocked.
Heineke's out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, could we see him come back? Nick Mullins. I mean, some of these guys can start for a few games before your rookie's ready if they're not ready right away. And number
Until you
one
got to
overall.
Nick Mullins, I think all of those guys I'd be happy with any of those guys, I think. Maybe not Kyle Allen, but
Yeah.
um Jacoby Brissett, Wentz at the right price. I think those are probably your two most likely options just because of their familiarity with Frank Reich. Um, I would have said Sam Darnold is the obvious choice, but he's not available. So I think it's probably Brissett if I just had to, because nobody's going to sign Brissett to be their starter,
Mm-mm.
right? At least here he would probably get to start the season unless
Compete.
right. Which honestly, if our number one guy has to sit a few games, I don't think that's such a bad thing, right?
No. I would prefer not to rush a quarterback out his first year if he's not ready. I
Yeah.
mean, you got to trust the coaches on that. And his spot rack market value is 5.4. So that's right along
What's
the lines.
what's Wentz's?
Uh, no market value because he's garbage.
So you would rather have Brissett than Wentz?
There's no market value
Assuming,
for him.
well, assuming money is equal, assuming let's say 2 years, 5.5 million per year. Who would you rather have?
I think I would prefer to have Brissett.
Really,
Mostly
I think I
because
go Wentz.
I think I'd prefer to just say brisket all the time and move on.
um, I think I'd prefer Wentz just because I think his upside is higher than Brissett's. Though his floor may be lower, honestly. I mean,
Yeah.
but Wentz has played his best under Frank Reich, so I think we would get whatever the best of Wentz is at this point of his career. So that would be my choice of the remaining guys. Heineke also would kind of a dark horse. I wouldn't mind seeing, just because we've seen that he can light it up. I mean, he's very he's got the moxie. You know,
I am
he's like
shocked.
what we hoped Baker Mayfield would have been for
Yeah,
us last year.
realistically, I'm
Yeah,
surprised Washington didn't re-sign him. It seems like I guess they're gonna go with Sam Howell, but I'm
yeah. I
surprised
mean,
they didn't sign Heineke to another $2 6 million a year type of deal quickly, or maybe he
yeah.
thought he
I mean,
could
they
get
still
more.
could. They still could. And Kyle Allen again. That's someone that Rivera is very close to and knowledgeable of. So that he could go back. Who knows? But you know, I guess the only other kind of free agent position that we might want to see would be tight end, right? I mean, that's
Uh,
kind of
before
a
we before we move
but
on to tight end, there was a little tweet slash rumor going around that the Panthers are trying to move on from Matt Corral, that they are willing
now
to trade him.
okay, so I saw that and I saw it immediately debunked by team
Okay.
reporters, basically saying that they're not shopping him. But that does not mean that they're not taking calls and that they would not listen if an offer comes in. So they're not actively trying to get rid of him based on the team reports that I saw. But if someone makes an offer, but what would you, Jerry, be happy getting for Matt Corral?
I mean, I
Because
take a
I think a third. Like I
yeah.
wouldn't take anything less than a third.
I was really high on Matt Corral coming out of the
Yeah.
draft before the draft. I like Matt Corral's abilities. He's very mobile. He's very accurate. That being
we don't
said,
we don't know what he is in the NFL.
we are drafting a quarterback at 1, so I would want
Yeah.
another third back for him.
I would want at least what we have in to
Yeah.
him because we don't know what he is. He could, if we draft Bryce Young or CJ Stroud and Matt Corral comes in just firing bullets in the offseason and preseason and looks amazing, I'm not going to be upset about that
No.
at all.
And we
I
know
mean,
that he wasn't getting good coaching. I mean,
right. Now
Sam
he's got
Darnold
the,
played the best under Steve Wilkes, the defensive coordinator
right,
coach.
right, exactly. So whatever Matt Corral is going to be, he's going to get an opportunity to at least show that and be coached up here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get rid of Matt Corral if we don't get at least a third. I don't want to get rid of him
I agree.
because he doesn't cost anything. He's a third-year rookie deal, a late third-round rookie deal.
And,
Keep him.
and worst case scenario, you can have a solid backup.
Yeah.
In
I mean,
3
and if he
years.
looks really good in the preseason and somebody goes down on another team, maybe you get more than a third for him, right?
Absolutely. Make up some of
So,
this draft capital you traded for.
yeah, it's never a bad thing to have two good quarterbacks. And we don't know if Matt Corral's good or not yet.
And
I mean,
Frank
early
Reich should
returns weren't.
understand that. Due to
Yeah,
Jim Kelly going down and he taking over
well,
and going to the Super Bowl.
yeah, which is why I think that they're probably not, and Carson Wentz and Nick Foles as well. Like Frank Reich has been on both sides of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's any reason to get rid of him, which is why the team is saying that they're not shopping him. Which I hope that's true. All right, so let's look at some tight ends because Evan Ingram was the top tight end kind of on the list that I'm looking at. He was franchise tagged. Dalton Schultz still out there.
Mm-hmm.
I would imagine he's going to be pretty expensive.
Yeah, I don't know if we could afford Dalton Schultz. Mike Gesicki doesn't really fit with what Frank Reich wants. He wants a blocking / receiving threat, so he's just
receiving threat check, blocking not so much. You've got Hayden Hurst is out there. Wouldn't be a bad signing in my opinion. He would be a big upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
Irv Smith, someone we've talked about before, has potential.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be at the top of my list, but for the right price, he's still very young. He's only 24, so he could be an option. Do you have anybody else on your list?
Robert Tunyon, Austin Hooper. I honestly would prefer like a Hayden Hurst, who's a little bit older, but you can also get him for $6 million a year, a little less, something. Irv Smith is projected at $10 million, so unfortunately his age.
Really?
Yeah, it's just his
That's
age.
surprising.
Yeah, his age. It is. I mean, I personally wouldn't mind bringing in a nice Mercedes Lewis for at age 38 years old, just because how many times are you going to have a 39-year-old tight end out there who's actually can still produce decently?
That's one way to look at it. Let's see. You got. I'm looking at market value for Dalton Schultz here, and it's not coming up because Spot Rack sucks.
No, Spot Rack does not suck, sir.
$15.1 million is his market value. So don't think we'll be in the Dalton Schultz market.
Yeah, it's just like that trip to Bali. It's too rich for my blood.
Of course, Bozeman's market value was 12 million and we got him for 6. So could we get Dalton Schultz for 10 a year?
Maybe. I mean, that
I mean,
is
Dalton
possible.
Schultz for 10 a year versus Irv Smith for 10 a year.
Oh yeah,
I'd much rather
definitely.
have Dalton Schultz for 10 million
But
a
if
year.
Dalton Schultz gets 10 million a year, Irv Smith is not getting 10 million a year. He's getting probably like 7, 8.
Probably, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean, Schultz obviously the best one out there currently. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But I still think that this is probably like that might be our second round pick as a tight end, depending on who's available.
That's
Tight end or
exactly.
wide receiver.
Yeah. It really depends on what's available at the time because
Yeah.
tight end is pretty deep in this class, and I could see them going with that.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else to talk about, Jerry?
No, I mean, we'll be up here any more free agency signings, and then we're going to do our CJ Stroud draft profile. I'm very excited. I've already been doing some YouTube watching a film, but very fun.
Same, yeah, man. Like he's solid. It's going to be really interesting to see where we land him versus Bryce Young because Bryce Young's really damn good. Like he is really good. Is just if he was like an inch taller, I'd feel so much better about it.
Not only an inch taller, if he was a
15
bigger
pounds heavier.
size, if he was a
Yeah.
natural size bigger, if he was 3 inches taller and normal, like a normal body type, or even skinny
Yeah.
at 3 inches taller, it would be in no question first round top pick. But
Oh yeah. We probably wouldn't have gotten the
no,
pick for what we got it for. I've heard that he plays bigger than he plays bigger than like Kyler Murray plays, is what I've heard. So I'm excited to kind of dig into him as well. But our next one will be CJ Stroud. That'll be out later this week. So until then, we'll let Jerry do his sign off thing.
oh, so yeah,
I'm not gonna jump it.
Thank you for listening. If you like the show, please let your friends know. Please follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. If you leave us a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts, we'll read it on the show like we did earlier today. Take it away, Steven.
All right. We'll be back with CJ Stroud later this week and any more free agency signings. I don't know if we're going to do every day, but we'll definitely hit the major points here every so often. Until then, everybody stay safe out there and keep pounding.
But I want to be Steve.